Welcome, everybody. If you haven't met me already, almost everybody on this group has. I'm Sally Taylor. And today we're really here to hear from my friend Eric Huysmans, who I have been learning and practicing channeling with over the last few months. And we have together organized some small groups of individuals, primarily from my Thinning Veil group on Facebook, of individuals who want to learn to channel their loved ones in spirit. So that's where we're starting with that little project. And in addition, we have talked to Wendy about doing a monthly group session through the Global Gathering group. And so, not on the Sundays. We're talking about the date, and I think Wendy, you had suggested a second Monday of the month, and that's good for me. I'll check in with Eric later about that date on a monthly basis, and we'll get added to the list of offerings every month. Channeling for me is, I don't want to say a new experience, because in a lot of ways it feels very connected to the mediumship that I've already been developing and have developed fairly strongly at this point. But it is a slightly different process. And I think Eric and I have turned out to be pretty good collaborators on this, because I have found, and I hope you're okay with me saying this, Eric, that he is a jump in with both feet kind of guy. He's like, everybody can do this. You are a soul and a body, and just do it. And I, as a teacher by background, kind of sit and watch and see who's uncomfortable or struggling. And I say, dip your toe in. Because this is something everyone can do. And I'm in full agreement with Eric on this particular topic. So Eric has been channeling a group called the Council of Nine for many, many, many years. And I'm aware he also does channeling of a lot of other entities as well. He's got a whole range of books that are available online through Amazon, and he's got a brand new one out called The Search for Free Will. And so you might want to check that out. You can find it under his name, Eric Huysmans. So Eric, the floor is yours.
Okay. So again, what we do is what Sally says. We are not interested and figure out that I'm talking we already, that we are not interested in telling people what to do, because people are grown-ups and everyone is a spirit, and everyone should be able to channel and is able to channel. And for instance, what we do with Sally on a small base is, we have 4 women in the room, and we assist them that they channel their loved ones themselves. Hopefully within the hour. Wherever you come from, of course, you get your background and your education and your spiritual vibrational level, but everyone should be channeling, because everyone is a spirit, everyone is a multidimensional being. Okay, what we're going to do today is try to do the same. So I'm going to explain a little bit what channeling is for us. 10 minutes, 15 minutes max. Please don't ask any detailed questions, because the goal is not the theoretical part. We are going as soon as possible to the practical part. Okay? Checking with Sally, is Adam telling something or not?
He can be if you have a question.
Okay,
I tapped into him before we got here today. Okay. So
okay, understand, I'm working for a collective, and Sally is working for a collective, and that is already that we have about 400 non-physical beings present. Okay, for the record. Okay, I prepared 10 minutes of theory about channeling. What is channeling and what is a multidimensional being capable of? The analogy I'm giving to you is this. Imagine you are two people in one. You are the main character in a book, and at the same time, you are the writer of the book. So you are two people. Imagine that. So where I'm going to is get the first perspective of the main character. As an example, just to give you an image. Does the main character know the plot of the book? In general, no. He has to go through chapter and chapter and chapter, and in the end he will get the plot where he gets to the last page. Okay, this is an analogy of 3D. The third dimension is you being a character in a script. You go as an ego mind spirit system through your daily life, and what tomorrow brings, the setting is that you surrender to life and that you become your own plot, your future plot, day by day in a process. Perspective too. You, again, you are both the two perspectives and more, but the image here is, okay, consider you are the writer of the book. Of course you know the plot. You've written the book. Okay, the two perspectives. A rhetorical question, and I don't need an answer, is which perspective are you in now? The main character or the writer of the book? In theory, you should be in both, but most of us are in the first. And channeling is towards the second and the merge of the first and the second. I explain. How we go from the first perspective to the second perspective. That is easy and difficult. How do you get away from being the main character in your book? And the answer is simple and difficult at the same time. The answer is you stop focusing on that perspective. Understand what we do for decades, hundreds, thousands of years in a collective way here in 3D on Earth. We are being told we are a character in a book. Life goes on. So what we need to do is stop focusing on page by page. And that is, how do you call it, redrawing yourself from that perspective. And that is called silencing the mind. That is called meditating. And the main thing here is it's a simple 3D day-to-day choice. But we do that by default. Every time we wake up, every time we look at something, we say, I don't know that. I don't know the next page. But that is a choice. Most people say, oh, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And that is correct from that choice perspective. Okay. How? That's what you do. You redraw yourself pure with your willpower, your free will. You draw yourself from that perspective by choice. How? The second perspective. So, the second perspective knows the plot, knows how the end is going to be. He knows or she knows how you are going to end up in this life and next life and next life. So channeling, and I'm okay. So what you're doing is you're using your 3D senses in the 3D world, and you're using your higher self, your multidimensional senses in the higher perspective, in the higher dimensional perspective. And that's it. Everyone can do that. But first, you have to do two things. First, redraw your focus from the 3D, and that you can only do that by pure training, like a marathon. Do this, do this, do this, day by day, redraw yourself. And what we're going to do today is, or at least an attempt, we'll see. I'm laughing at myself because Sally said, okay, I'm jumping. I'm always head first going in is, you know how to do that. How to channel, how to connect to your future self, your future whatever. You can do that, but we didn't learn that. No one told that us in school, not at home, not on the street, and hardly on books, because the books are again theory, then you have to do it. That's what we're going to do, hopefully in 5 minutes. Okay, what we're going to do is, again, the first thing I can't help you with, redraw yourself, make that choice. That is your personal choice. I can't help you there. Maybe you have 1,000 questions. I am not going to answer these questions today because the time is too short. And again, understand how I'm just explaining how Eric works, and probably Sally also, is I am channeling, but I have no clue. So within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I will be telling something I have no clue of. But I have to have the confidence in my mouth is correct. And that is a condition. That is a condition that most people don't want to do. How we work is like this, and understand me, because you will not understand until we do it. There will be put words and codes and figures and whatever in Eric's mind, and well, I will ask someone, a guinea pig, I will ask you to go there. For instance, I will explain that later. If I ask you, go to 748, that is a GPS point in the multi-dimensional dimension. Where that is, Eric doesn't know. He has no clue. But that is where that person needs to be. So when I ask some crazy stuff like that, please go there. And from there on, I will ask you, and Sally will ask you, that's how we work with those ladies in the afterlife thing, is what do you see? What imps do you have? What thoughts do you have? And again, I repeat, redraw your ego perspective. Silence your mind and just go there. And then it's up to Adam and the Council of Nine and other councils, whomever are working with Eric. They will tell Eric and Sally whether that information is correct. Meaning, when someone goes to 748 and they say, I see a blue alien, then the confirmation comes to Eric that it should be a blue alien and not a green one. If you tell me it's a green alien, then the feedback goes to Eric, it's wrong. Okay, that's the theory. First Sally and then questions, but again, I would like to go as quickly as possible to the practice.
Okay. Did you have something that you wanted me to do specifically, Eric?
No, just check if I didn't forget anything.
Okay. Actually,
I was going to ask
ahead.
if you can just do sort of a quick rundown on the basic concepts.
Sure. Well, I will do my best. Because again, I consider myself the student in this case, although there's so much overlap in my experience in doing this with Eric to the other development that I have done. So if you are developing, opening yourself to subtle information in any way, this should begin to feel very familiar to you very quickly. But as Eric said, this is a process whereby you just shift yourself out of your player perspective, right? Your actor perspective, your character in the book perspective, to becoming the writer of the book, right? That has all of the information about the storyline you're participating in. So that's one good way to start sort of separating your ego self away from the piece of you, the part of you that has access to all that information. When Eric was talking about using a code to get people started with, that's very similar in a lot of ways to what people do when they're learning remote viewing, right? They're given a number or something that is meant to represent the target that you're looking for. And since a number doesn't have any real associations with it for you, you can just immediately start to rely on what comes to mind. And Eric is then to facilitate validating what you've received. And I will say that as a general rule, if you're grasping the first thing that hits you, you're generally going to be accurate and you will receive that validation. So much like I said earlier, Eric prompts people to jump in with both feet. And the great thing about that is that you kind of have to bypass your fear. If you're at all nervous or feel fearful of this process, you're going to get stuck. And so these processes that he's describing are a great way to sort of just do. And as he said, the act of doing is the way to develop. And so you can't be pulling back from fear conceptions. And luckily, this is a loving group of people who is always supportive of each other. So if you do end up being one of the people that that goes on ahead and gets to be the guinea pig today, then know that you're in a group of people that love you and support you and are cheering you on. So, and of course, you can always say you're not interested in being a guinea pig too. So that's perfectly all right. Eric, is there anything else that you would like for me to
No,
clarify?
we are ready to rumble.
Okay. Dan, would you like to be the guinea pig? Are you
Well,
willing?
I'll try. Yeah.
What is your background on spirituality in this matter?
Oh, well, it's been many years of study. Just wrote a book about it a couple of years ago, made films in the area. So I'm well versed in all of the concepts and you might say, and the notion of higher realities, higher frequencies. This is all very natural to me. It's been that way most of my life. In terms of actually experiencing and practicing, I've worked with a wonderful team of mediums who are known to the folks here for about 5 years. I have not myself practiced in a disciplined way to develop my own higher perceptions and communication. And part of it is my own. It's been my own shyness in public speaking as well, which participating here has actually helped me move forward in. But I tend to be more of a left-brained person. But just recently, I've become more motivated to open up the rest of my capacities, and so I'm interested in carrying this forward. So let's go for it.
Okay, let's jump into the deep, or I kick you in the deep and I jump with you. Okay.
Thank you.
sorry to break the news, but where is your Andromeda connection?
I don't know.
You've been there last night.
I don't doubt it,
Okay.
but I don't have I should say I have limited conscious memory of it's more of a feeling than detailed memories and perceptions.
Okay. Can you please
But
close?
I know that I'm not from here.
Ah, you're not from Andromeda neither. Okay, but that's another.
Just visiting there, yeah.
Just visiting. Okay. Can you go? And here comes the code. Don't memorize the code. Just go there. Okay. 7, 4, 8, 4, 4, 7, and you're there.
Um, what I'm perceiving is a sort of being in a kind of a spinning atmosphere,
Mhm.
energy rotating around me, but it has a texture to it and a sort of a tan color, and there's some kind of a focus that's emerging, but I'm not clear what it is, and it's like a circle, a moon, a planet, it's something like that. But it's sort of beyond this veil of swirling energy.
Okay. In my perspective, and that's what I get, is you're on an Andromedan spaceship looking out.
So you say space, is that spaceship, did you say?
Yes, an Andromedan spaceship looking from inside out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this spaceship feels more like it initiates as a mental construct, which only concretizes enough to serve its purpose. Does that make sense?
That spaceship is a living being.
Yeah. Um, I don't get much of anything apart from this feeling of being in this enclosed space and seeing what looks like a moon or a planet out front.
Okay. One more. Sense how many beings are around you. Don't look, sense.
3.
Okay. One of them is you. One of them is your best friend. And one of them is, excuse me to express that, a nice female you know very well.
Well, this this fits in with excuse me, the communications that I've had over the past 5, 6 years, mostly through my medium friends, with some very close friends of mine on the other side, um, two of which were former partners of mine, and so that personal connection makes sense. It's not so much that of a higher being or a teacher, but of peers, people with whom I have related in this life, but at the moment experiencing with perhaps in terms of some of our common history.
Okay.
or either history or simultaneous experience elsewhere. But definitely there's this personal relationship.
Mhm. One of the three, I'm not sure which one, and it doesn't matter, is trying to guess a message to you, even brief.
Mhm.
Can be private. Huh?
Messages, come join the party. That's what I get.
Okay.
If you pick up anything else, anything more specific, I'm open to receiving it.
Okay. They are telling you, see you tonight again.
All right.
May I
Well,
add something,
can,
Eric?
can excuse me, I have a question just
Sure.
pertaining to that. How would you, what would be your best advice in terms of how to better connect with my sleep state once I've awakened?
Adam,
How best to remember?
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to answer that for you really quickly, Dan, but I do want to spit out something because when something's at the tip of my tongue, I can't get past it without saying it. So I wanted to validate your statement about the mental construct of what Eric described as spaceship. That your understanding of that is accurate.
Yeah, when I use the term spaceship, there's a whole range
Right.
of notions there. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Language doesn't always get us there. Um, okay, and I'm sorry, now I need to sidetrack back to remembering dream state. Um, Writing down immediately upon awakening everything that you remember. Uh, okay, I've got a couple of things here. Everything that you remember when you awake. However, the I see you waking up because sometimes this comes in pictures for me. I see you waking up around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. You may not have memory of your sleep state before that, but I have an encouragement for you then to relax enough to get yourself back to sleep that you will fall back into a dream state in those early hours of the morning where you will retain more. But an encouragement to write it down when you do wake, later in the morning, 6, 7 o'clock, whenever that happens to be for you. And not to wait. Sometimes we think, oh, I'll get up, I'll, go to the bathroom, I'll do whatever, I'll write it down. But instead, just immediately, even if it's a few notes. I mean,
Now
I'm listening.
I realize this is important. One of my favorite books of all time was J.W. Dunn's book, An Experiment with Time. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Dunn. Just a little aside here. J.W. Dunn was an early British aircraft designer back in the 1920s, and he had a theory about consciousness, which is explained in his book. It's called I just said it, now I've forgotten it because my consciousness is so full right now.
I understand.
An experiment with time. And basically, simply put, it involves keeping track of your dreams for a period of 2 weeks.
Well, that's
And
actually what I was just listening
right,
to
and
was the
writing
time.
down, you have to, before anything else comes into your mind at all when you awake, start writing immediately. That's the key.
Perfect.
And for me, I did this experiment years ago. I was living in London and was doing the experiment then because a friend of mine there introduced me to the book. And I had a dream about a very peculiar airplane I'd never seen before. The following week, I'm driving across Ireland, and that airplane comes right over me and appears at the top of my windshield. That sort of, there were other things as well, but that was the most fun thing that happened. Anyway, that the whole point of connecting with your higher being through that immediate chronicling of your dreams is so important. And I've been getting back to it, I say, but I need to do it more rigorously. And thank you so much, Sally, and thank you, Eric.
Oh, very good. Well, I love the validation. And
Yeah.
actually, once you started speaking, what I was listening for was how long did they want you to do it for? And you already have mentioned,
Well,
a couple of weeks, and that's
yeah,
great.
yeah. And that
Perfect.
builds up the practice and the habit over a
Exactly.
week period as
Well, but
well.
it also encourages you to, well, encourage isn't the right word. I always get stopped when I have the wrong word in my mouth, but it enables you to remember more and more and more every time. So,
Yes, it also enabled me to remember something in my ordinary life, which I had completely blocked. This was very dramatic for me. I was some years ago, I was living in Paris, and I walked by the river one day, and they had dragged a body up out of the water, and I had walked right by it. And the amazing thing to me, looking back on it, is that within 10 minutes, I had completely erased that experience from that memory. I had no from my memory, had no memory of it. When I did this experiment with time, one of the dreams that came up was of seeing a body being dragged up out of the river onto a boat. And I woke up and I said, "Oh my God." That was a shocking experience for me. I completely erased it from my conscious memory, had not thought of it until now. This was some years later.
right. Amazing.
So, well, I was humbled by this. Like
Yeah.
what else have I forgotten or erased from my mind, either in my waking life or in my dreams?
Well, and I've got one more thing, if you don't mind me speaking again, Eric, that I connect to that. And, we always talk about there being a veil between this world and the next, or this world and the world we came from, right? This veil of forgetting, or the veil between us and our loved ones. Well, that is a forgetting too. And so if we can access across that veil of forgetfulness with our loved ones or with our pre-existence, we can certainly do it with things that we veiled from ourselves in this lifetime as well. So that's
Yeah.
perfect example. Perfect.
Yeah. And another thing is that I think we need to remember that our memories are not actually stored in our physical brains.
Right.
There's no physical or physiological obstacle ultimately to the ability to recall and to focus elsewhere.
Correct.
And easy to say, of course.
Right. But not always easy to do. But that's okay. That's what we're here to
Yeah.
play with.
Yeah.
And considering this play is a good way to keep yourself in a non-fearful state,
Mhm.
right? So we probably have
Absolutely.
time for one more, if that's okay. Eric, are you okay with doing one more?
Wait.
Okay, sure.
Um, understand how we work. We can do this with all 60 people in the room here, but there isn't not the time nor the interest of other people to do that. So before moving on, we will go to Sally, and then we have our Q&As or whatever Sally wants or Adam wants to do. And after that, we would like to come back with the proposal to do this together. Okay, to you, Sally.
Okay. I'm not sure what you're hoping for me for this time, other than if there's a last message from my personal guide. If you've been hearing Eric talk about Adam, Adam is the name of the guide that I became aware of many years ago, but I didn't have a name for him for a long time. Spontaneously, when it showed up. Let's see if I'm listening. See, sometimes it's hard for me to start speaking as well. Okay. So I'm just getting kind of again, I get a lot of pictures, and he's just really smiling and happy about this process, probably more so than I am in the moment. And he wants to reiterate the multidimensional nature of existence. That your focus into the physical body is simply a focus. And you have the autonomous volition to shift your focus to higher planes of experience. And your willingness to do so can not only provide you with clarity and understanding during this physical experience, but it can allow you access to greater fields of experience. And I'm told to describe a few ways that I, Sally, receive information, so that as you explore the possibilities of this topic on your own, you stay open to the possibilities of the many ways that those who love you in higher planes can come through to you. Okay, so I'm gonna pull aside and speak as myself here for a moment. Many of the ways that I receive are through what feels like thoughts in my head. And the key there is to just differentiate between what are your personal thoughts as your ego self in this physical body, and what is separate from you, and separate's not the right word. I'm being told that's the wrong word. But what is the parts of you and those who identify as separate from you and as their own identity, the ways that they can push thoughts into your mind as well. They will always be positive. They will always be loving. They will generally not tell you what to do, though they may suggest or ask questions. Another way besides the thoughts are I receive pictures. So you heard me describe a minute ago, sometimes I get pictures. So I saw a picture of Dan waking up in the middle of the night, right? So I'll sometimes get pictures that don't have words attached to them, but if it tells the story much like a movie can do, but it's still all in my head. I will get what I call packets. And for me, a packet is the hardest part for me to describe, but it feels like this chunk of information that while it's in the packet, I can't really tell you what it is or what's there, but I have to unpack it, if that makes sense, so that it just suddenly starts to flow. So I think most people would consider that a form of clear cognizance or clear knowing, but for me, it feels like it comes in mass and then slowly kind of unravels
I think
itself.
Robert Monroe called those thought balls.
Okay, that's a good description as well. But it feels like it kind of comes all together, and that's the best way I can describe it. Also, I have a lot of clairsentience, so if you find yourself to get a lot of physical chills when you hear truthful information or things along those lines, that can also be a strong form of communication for them. And I'm being told that, I'm listening just a second. Okay. I'm being told to describe the way I experience it. It can just be what I call truth chills more than anything. Sometimes we need validation that what we received was accurate. And so for me, clair sentience, or this feeling of chills, or if it's mediumship, maybe you get some physical sensation that the person who's communicating with you wants to describe. Like I've had somebody who died by like a drug overdose. I'll feel nauseous and lightheaded, and they'll give you things like that. Granted, if you're talking with your higher self or with guides, angels, that sort of thing, they're not typically going to talk to you about how they died. So it depends on who the messenger is in this case. Okay, I'm listening if there's more. Okay, for the act of what we're calling channeling in this case, those are going to be a lot of the dominant ones. Some people will get things like clairalience or smelling and taste and that sort of thing. But it's harder to communicate that way with regard to a content of information. So mostly they're going to stick with what feels like words, what looks like pictures, what comes in as packets of information, and then can verify with chills, is the way I experience it, but it might be slightly different feeling for you. I'm also told to talk about, just because this might be very specific to me, but it is another symptom that I get, and that stuff, it feels like there's pressure in my head. I'll get a very full feeling head. And so, yeah, that's the way these things can occur. And it's a matter of learning to trust it, to play with it. And like Eric said, just do it. And don't worry about whether or not you have to prove to somebody that what just came through is absolute reality or the truth. As you do more and more of this, you'll receive the validations. You'll see the synchronicities. You'll come across the information again in another form that validates for you that what you received was accurate. And I think that's all I have to say about it. So anyway, Eric, do you want to start taking questions?
We can do two things. Up to you, Sally. We can do a third one, and then we propose you do the picking, and that will be an afterlife session. So if you're up for it.
Okay. Well, Laura Lynn, you had volunteered. Would you like to continue along that line?
Sure, I find this
Okay.
fascinating.
Okay. And so in this particular case, rather than necessarily connecting to a guide or, a teacher of some form, do you have a loved one on the other side that you would like to connect to?
I have loved ones on the
Okay.
other side.
Okay. Do you have somebody specific that you would like to invite in to come closer to you?
Okay, I can.
Okay.
do
Well, let's pick a specific one. Let's pick one person in particular. You don't have to tell me who it is if you don't want to.
Okay.
Okay.
I got
And
it.
then Gary, I'm sorry, I'm talking to Gary all the time too. Eric, do you want to lead her in on this, or are you asking me to do that?
Wait. Okay. You're going to do that, Sally Adam, but let's give it a go. I'm not getting a very specific person, but rather a family. Then about 3 people say, okay, you wanted to have us here we are.
Okay. He's saying he has about 3 people that are with you.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you,
Sure.
Laura Lynn? Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Not sure about the third one, but yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
So,
close your eyes, connect with it, and I'll leave it to Sally.
and I'm going to tap in for just a moment as well. Okay. What I'm hearing is that you do have a single individual that you do connect with more often than anyone else in your family. Does that sound accurate, Laura?
Yes, that comes through. Yes.
Yes, you're specifically good at communicating with.
Mhm.
So that's who we want to go to. Okay, so ask this person, and I'm feeling a female. Is this a female for you?
Yes,
Okay.
that's mine.
Yes, that you're contacting with most. Okay. Um, have her describe to you. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, just a moment. I'm listening. Okay, ask her to describe to you the way that your strongest sensitivity to receiving communication.
My strongest sensitivity.
That you're listening to her for what she feels is your strongest
Okay.
sensitivity for receiving information.
Clairvoyance.
Okay. Okay. So you do receive a lot of pictures in your head, and she's telling me to, well, I'm listening just a moment. Okay, she's telling me too that uh, it's not just clairvoyance, but it's energetic. And I'm going to say it. Do you get kind of lightheaded a lot when you're
Yes.
doing this? Okay.
That's true. It is.
Okay. So, and that's kind of what I was getting. That, uh, okay, I'm listening again. I'm sorry. I'm a little slow sometimes. Okay. Okay, so here's what I'm hearing is that um, when you get lightheaded, you're actually making an energetic shift, and that she wants you to become very, very familiar with that shift, that lightheadedness, because you will start becoming more clairaudient in that process. So even if your strength is in the pictures, there's an encouragement for clairaudience. So ask her, what is the best way for you once you notice that shift to become more aware of the verbal information that's arriving to you? Ask that question.
Okay. I've heard that it should be written down.
Okay, good, good. So you may develop much quicker and much more strongly if you're doing automatic writing to start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I'm hearing trust. Once the writing begins to flow, that your access is actually going to be ramped up to any time, even when you don't have that pen and paper in front of you or the typewriter or whatever format you're using to write with. And you'll find yourself in sort of bridging those two worlds more often, maybe even than you currently are.
That'd be good.
So ask her if she has a practice for you. What would she like to see you do?
Well, she wants me to paint. She wants me to do artwork.
Okay.
Mhm.
Which I will say is a form of channeling as well. I consider artwork to be collaborative if you're doing it with an eye to doing it that way.
Okay.
All right, very good. Eric, do you have anything you want to ask or add?
Um, no, I just find names are coming to me real quickly. Names.
That's fantastic. Okay,
Thank
that's
thank
great.
you
You're very
so much.
welcome. Thank you. Because I'll admit, even I get names periodically, but not often. Those can, but that's because I tell myself it's a challenge. It's really not if you accept that it's not. We all have our own little idiosyncrasies of what we believe is possible and what we don't believe is possible. It is our beliefs that really block us from being able to do more. And so if you always have positive self-talk to yourself around this, again, playfulness, uh, it tends to come on very quickly. All right, Eric, anything else from you?
No?
All right, do we want to go to questions? Anybody have questions they want to ask or add in this process?
Regina, let's bring you in on this.
Not a question, but just want to thank both of you for doing that so lovely. People have asked me many times to teach it, and you made it very simple, a very lovely way of doing that, and a very what's it called? Accessible. You made it accessible, and that to me was genius. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Sally, for that. It was just delightfully fun.
Well, I fully admit still being a student in this matter. Like I said, Eric is really the one that's got
Always
the vast
students.
years of experience. Always a student.
Always
Uh,
students. I
Gary,
get. You mentioned the packages,
yeah,
and I always call them downloads because they're so massive, and all of a sudden, as you've witnessed before, all of a sudden things just they just they just roll, and you can't stop it. So,
right.
yeah. Anyway, great job.
Oh, thank you. All right, anybody else?
Now, Sally and Eric, before some people leave around about this time, so I just wanted to quickly check in when you're planning to do this, or when you're going to start the group, and what are you going to be doing in the group?
So, Eric, you want to answer that? I will say that I know, Wendy, that you had suggested the second
The second Monday.
Yeah, and I'm actually fine with that. And we could start as early as when, Eric?
Okay, Council of Nine here. As an aside and as a joke, we are not concerned or constrained by time or space. So we are not concerned or constrained by money or ego. Our proposal here is that we, you, humanity, do this. How you do that, we will comply. But please do it together, do it in oneness, do it in benevolence, and we will be here. Sorry for the strange answer, but that's it.
No, that's a great answer.
That's
But
a
Eric, you live in the physical 3D world, Eric. Yeah, is the second Mondays okay for you?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Eric will be available when we ask him or tell him to be available. That's how it works.
Okay.
Who is the Council of Nine? Fact. A number of beings who are volunteering to help humanity, and as 3 parts, 3 times 3, so 3 times 3 is 9. So three of us are basically focused on what we call earth matters, and that's the soul path, evolution, that kind of thing. Then we have the second three of beings are more devoted to what you call aliens and ETs off planet. The first one is on planet, the second one is off planet, and the third one is the angel realm, and we are the oversight. And if you have questions from there, then we can. But understand, it's 3 times 3, but we are representatives. We are not 9. We are 99. We are 999. We are 90,000, 9 million. We are just offering 3. Someone will need to understand this answer. We are offering 3 portals, entrances, how to address the other here. Is that an answer to your question?
Beautiful. Absolutely perfect.
You can connect to us 24/7 without any interference or intermediate connection of a human being, because that's not the basics of the rule. The basics is everyone can connect. So what we're going to do for 10 minutes for everyone available is we're going to connect and remember this code. It's not difficult. 748. I repeat, 748. Whenever you want, day or night, in trouble or in meditation, if you have a question and you would like to connect with a multidimensional being, go to 748, and that we will do for the next 10 minutes. And then the Council of Nine will redraw, and then you can chat forever and ever. Okay. Close your eyes or don't close your eyes, it doesn't matter. Know that you connect to us, and us is all beings in multidimensional realms or states or energies, whatever. Whatever you do is redraw your mind, become silent, and just before you become silent, express your question. That question is, as Sally stated, the best question is an image, a zip file, a download, but now it's an upload. So you go there, and we will have a very small guided meditation. You go to now 748 and know every time you call on us, we will be there. And expect a team of beings, experts, angels, benevolent energies and beings ready for you. And expect an answer. So now, connected with 748, in front of your expert team, express from within your question. Know that we are here. Expand your consciousness. Expect your higher self to answer. Expect your cosmic being friend to answer. It can be a stupid 3D question. It can be about money. We don't care. We don't care. Something, some addiction. We don't care. We are here for soul-to-soul communication. We are one. And the only thing you need to remember is that we are one. And there are no mistakes. There are no problems. There are only challenges. And soul paths and choices. You are an eternal, immortal being with a quickie on earth. Okay. Be silent for a minute and then come back one by one. And we thank you. Metatron thanks you. I am here to guide humanity. The plot is known. Namaste. Council of Nine out. Thank you.
Sally, how would you like to carry that forward?
I actually have a question. I feel like I'm supposed to ask Nancy. Um, so I'm just curious, and I feel like this is Nancy, if you don't mind speaking up, what did you experience in that very brief shifting of yourself?
It was very brief, actually. I felt like I was lifted like an inverse tornado upward into this like a burst of sunlight, a very bright light. And I was moved to say, I love everybody and to spread that love because that's the most important thing we can do, especially at this point. That's what I got.
Beautiful, thank you. That gave me chills. So, but thank you. And you know, you may all have experienced something slightly different. I actually saw a being I haven't seen before. So, you know, I won't describe that in detail, but these opportunities to shift your conscious awareness are are kind of precious opportunities. So I hope all of you will take those opportunities now and then just to check in, whether it's to tap into again to those entities, those forces, those powers that love you deeply and are interested in your well-being, or if it's because you're actively looking for information. Everything can be found through your own system. You know, if you're, you know, if we're gonna be biblical about this, you know, the man we call Jesus, he talked about the kingdom of heaven is within, right? So you don't need to go to outside sources for this information. You just need to find the quiet moments to tap in to your own knowing. As Eric says all the time, you will know, or I know. And so it's that inner knowing that we're really talking about here, and your inherent access to it.
Well, I think we should